Well, today guys, I'm going to walk you through how I mixed my cover of Unsainted by Slipknot. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so here's the project that I used for Unsainted, diving right into it, man. Here's the finished product. And it came out very, very well, and it's done so well on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching it, listening to it, and giving me a lot of positive feedback, more particularly on my vocals. It really has pushed me to put some vocals on my own stuff, my Luna Muerta albums and EPs that are coming up here in the future. I have one dropping this Sunday. It's available for pre-order if you guys want to check that out. It really, really means the world to me. I'm doing a live stream this Friday to celebrate it, so be on the lookout for that. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll knock out all the small stuff or the stuff that I really didn't perform per se, and then we'll dive into my own personal stuff, okay? So we'll start with this quick little airy crescendo. All that does is just set up the huge hit from the intro. So all I did was just put Joe Wanasek BG keys on that and just got a little bit, hardly any gain reduction, I believe. Yeah, there's really no gain reduction at all. It's just used as a volume fader basically. Drums, Superior Drummer 3. The gent style patch was the drums. There's a gent style patch. I always use that because it has a clicky kick and a big fat snare. It doesn't have like a real flubby snare or a real like piccolo snare sound, so it really, really works for me. And then all I did on the bus is just BG drum bus, and I just had the standard mode engaged, a little bit of compression and a little bit of volume reduction to get gain reduction, just a slight little bit. Watch, so here's the drums. So as you can see, I'm just getting the tiniest bit of gain reduction. That's kind of like my motto. What I found that works out for me is just, it's all about subtlety in terms of bus compression, just a little bit of gain reduction, man, because as soon as you start compressing a lot, minus the bass, which I'll get to in a second, but just in general, when you start compressing a lot, you start to get those volume swells, and it really, really, really hinders and ruins your track, basically. I've made that mistake for such a long time, but just get little subtlety and gain reduction, just a couple dBs of gain reduction, man, and you're good to go. Alright, lastly, we'll talk about the keys. I added the women's choir. I use women's choir all the time, from Hollywood Choir, which is from East West. You guys hear that literally on all my stuff. I love that plugin. I use it so much. And then I just put in the strings. So I'll play that. I put that in for the bridge. So those two are the studio strings I put in myself, as well as the descending below to kind of emulate the Sid Wilson kind of like scratch thing that he does there at the bridge. And that's pretty much it, man. Send them all to a bus. Got the Joe Wanasek BG keys. Again, man, I love that bus glue series, man. It's so quick and efficient. That's what I'm looking for, and it's like perfect for somebody like me. It's just it works so well, and you don't have to like dial it in, man. It's just good to go right out of the box. So I love that Joey Sturgis Tone plug-in series. Alright, so now we'll start with the stuff that I personally did. Alright, we'll start with the bass. The bass is very unique for me because usually I do the two bass tracks, and that is like have one dry and then have copy and paste and then make it really distorted, and then like blend it, send them to a bus and then blend them. But for this one, man, I just used one bass track, and I think that's because Slipknot as the band doesn't really have a pronounced bass tone per se. It's kind of tucked in behind the guitars. And all I did was I used my SansAmp bass driver DI Box V2, and then I just put the Will Putney STL tonality plugin on top of it. So here's the bass dry. And then here's with the plugin. So I used the Coma Witch album bass tone preset, and it just makes my bass sound, you know, pretty disgusting, but at the same time it goes very well with the guitars. You almost can't even really hear that it's there, and that's kind of like, again, kind of the nature of Slipknot, really. Alright, so on the bus, I have 3 plugins. Virtual Mix Rack. Virtual Mix Rack is the warm present bass, and basically what that does is just add a little bit of high end and then a little bit of low end at around 80 hertz, man. Yeah. A little bit of compression, pretty slow attack, very slow release, so it's pretty much solid all the way through. And then there's a little bit of thickness with the Revival, and basically that's it, man. It's pretty basic with the EQ there, but I do use a lot of EQ after that. Now for this, I really like to cut out 2K and 4K. I've said this a bunch. I really hate those frequencies. A lot of people hate them. They're like the nails on the chalkboard frequencies. And then I did a huge dip in the mids. Let's see, at about 373 hertz, so like right around 300-400 hertz. Again, the guitar is the mid-range focus instrument of an overall band of a track, and my snare likes to live around there. It's like right around this area. So by doing a huge cut with the bass, it allows my guitars to breathe and allows the snare to breathe, and I truly believe the snare is the absolute pulse of the song. So that's what I like to do there. And then just a little bit of boost again at around 80 hertz. Yeah, 90 I did 90 here. Again, just because you want to hold down the low end, but not get into like the subsonic, the subby stuff. So I did a low cut at 65, which is pretty aggressive, honestly. But I just found out a while ago actually that you just try to get away with as much as you possibly can with cutting out low end, because like I used to do it like really like subtly and have my low end, or my low cut at about like 30-35 hertz, and it would just like muddy up my track. And then I tried at like 40-45. I still wasn't happy with it, so eventually I was just like, you know what, I'm going to be super aggressive with it, and it worked. So just play around with it. That's what I like to do with my bass, 65 hertz. So that's all I did. And then lastly was the BG Bus Glue Bass from Joe Wanasek, Joey Sturgis Tones. I love this plugin because it splits the bass into two. It compresses the low end and the high end differently. The high end I like to keep pretty dynamic and have a pretty lot of compression and volume reduction, but I like to compress my low end even more so, just because it's like a solid wall all throughout the whole track, and then the high end is a little bit more dynamic and comes in and out as it does throughout the song, you know what I mean? So again, I'll A/B everything, I'll turn everything off, and then I'll put it all back on, okay? So Virtual Mix Rack really brings out the bass. The Air EQ really tames it, and then the Bus Glue like is the final polish where like it makes it just like stay tucked in and not jump out, you know what I mean? So that's the bass. Now let's get to the guitars real quick, and then we'll move on to vocals, because I have a lot of questions about my vocals. Guitars is more the same, really, man. Just STL tonality across the board. The Will Putney suite, man. Even the lead stuff, Will Putney. It's awesome. I think I use like amps 1 and 2. Let's see. Yeah, amp 1. Let's see what else I use here. Yeah, amp 1 again. I mean, these are stock presets, man. That's how good this plugin is. I'm not affiliated with STL Tones at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're very, very good to me. But I'm not endorsed at all, so don't think like this is a commercial for STL Tones. Like I said, they're very good to me. They take good care of me, but I'm not officially endorsed. I just love their product so much, man. So anyway, one thing I did here with the Jim guitar track, excuse me, I had a lot of cut in the mids, and then with the Jim, I had the mids still there. So basically, it's pretty common practice. You just have one with a huge mid cut, and then have one with a lot of mids, you know what I mean? So the mic has a pretty lot of high end and not a lot of mids, and the Jim's the complete opposite. A lot of mids, not a lot of high end, and together they sit very, very well. So again, just two 5150s, two Bogners, and the lead was a 5150. That's I didn't touch them minus the cut in the mids and the high end boost. That's all I did. Again, they're amazing plugins. So Virtual Mix Rack. This is my own stuff, heavy guitars, just a virtual preamp, a pretty significant cut at around 400 hertz again, because that's like where my snare likes to live. I really am a true believer in cutting out where other instruments are. That way, like, you don't like do the opposite of boost. Like, let's say I want to boost my snare, then all of a sudden like you're like pushing your whole entire track and risk clipping on the MIDI instrument, you know what I mean? So it's just better to take away than to add, in my personal opinion. If you can take away, do that before you add. That's just my own personal opinion. A little bit of compression, not too much, 4:1 ratio, threshold at 16. Pretty slow attack, a pretty fast release. That way, you know, with the rhythm stuff, you allow the dynamics to breathe a little bit. It's not super, super fast and clamping down on the signal. But the lead stuff, you want to have, you know, for example, if you want to have a lead sound, you want to clamp down on it pretty quick, because it's kind of like a vocal. If you think about it, a lead guitar tone is kind of like the same as a vocal track, where it's kind of like a giant wall of sound. So that's just a little tip I learned along the way. C4 by Waves, pretty standard here. It's just a multi-band compressor. And then Joe Wanasek guitars, man, another multi-band compressor with the Chug Slayer. And then hardly any compression and just a little bit of volume reduction, man. So Virtual Mix Rack does the majority of the work on my guitars, so I'll play my guitars. So you can really hear Virtual Mix Rack is literally doing all the work there. The Joel Wanasek BG guitars and the C4 by Waves is just like a safety blanket. It's not really doing anything to my overall tone. It's just there just in case something jumps out, you know what I mean? Alright, so those are all the instruments. Now let's get to the vocals. Finally, vocals. I'll start with the cleans, and then we'll get to the screams, alright? So cleans, for all of the chorus stuff, it was 2 takes just right on top of each other, a lead vocal and lead vocal 2.
Oh, I was gone, but I was out of know. I didn't come this far to sing so low. I'm finally holding on to letting go.
Alright, so that's the overall sound. What I did was I just had Virtual Mix Rack again, the warm vocal preset, and basically it just cuts out a little bit of the low end stuff, boosts a little bit of the high end, and then a little bit of compression. With this one, again, fast compression, slow release, because you want to clamp down on the initial transients, because vocals are like, you want them all to be like kind of solid and not be very dynamic, so you want that compressor to be really, really fast, you know what I mean? And then just a little bit of thickness at the end and a little bit of supplemental EQ stuff here. Honestly, the warm vocal preset just works well for me, and if it doesn't work for what I'm looking for, I'll go to another one like pop vocals or exciting vocals, but warm vocals really just works for me, man. So that's what I do with that. Eosis de-esser, that just gets rid of my, that just gets rid of like my P's and T's and, you know, my harsh S sounds and stuff like that.
So I was gone, but I was out of know. I didn't come this far to sing so low.
So you can see when it turns orange here, that means it's clamping down like on an S sound. Just, you know, pretty standard stuff, because when you compress, you start to gain a lisp. And I pretty much have like a lisp when I talk as it is. I kind of have like, just like naturally, just a lot of P's and T's and S's in my voice, just as how I talk. So that just helps out a lot. Stock Logic pedal board, just a little bit of delay for the clean stuff, and then Joe Wanasek vocals, man, just a little bit of compression and volume reduction.
So I was gone, but I was out.
Again, very, very subtle, hardly any gain reduction at all. It's just, again, more of a volume fader, just to glue everything in, so it's just not sticking out. And then at the end, on my master fader, it's not clipping before I even like finish that whole thing, you know what I mean? Like it's just all about like a safety net. That's what I've come to find out with the bus glue stuff. And lastly, the screams. Alright, the screams. This is what I've been getting a lot of questions about.
I'm just weathering a rough patch. Another villain with an ass to scratch. Denial is the darkest when you live in a hole. Why does the hell make you feel so cold? Make a move and you pray for it. Pick a lord and you pray to it. You're so demanding when you want the truth, but your story's all right for me. I'm just weathering a rough patch. Another villain with an ass to scratch. Denial is the darkest.
Alright, so I forgot to mention this with my clean stuff as well, but all 3 of my scream tracks and both of my my cleans have gain reduction by Joey Sturgis Tones. It's the best vocal compressor, especially for metal style, man, like in the world, hands down, bar none. And I will not listen to any other argument, man. I'm sorry. I've tried a lot of stuff and it just crushes, man. It sounds so good. So all I did was I just had 3 different takes, man. Just my first one was always on the right. My second one's always down the middle because that's like when I'm kind of warmed up. And then my left one is my third take, and that's kind of when I'm like running out of gas. And I do a lot of low end stuff. You know, just 3 different takes just makes it fill up so much more. And then I pan them left and right at about like plus or minus 20, and it just creates this huge wall of sound, man. Virtual mix rack, as always, virtual mix rack. I created this myself. I put a virtual preamp in front of it, more compression, the in your face vocal preset. And then just a little bit of EQ, hardly at all really, just a little bit of reduction in the high end, high pass, or excuse me, a low pass, excuse me. And then yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Just a little boost here around 5K, just give it a little bit more harshness, but not the 4K stuff where it's like nails on chalkboard. Just makes it a little bit brighter, and then a little bit of thickness, man, just to make you sound that much fuller. Air EQ, all I did was I just had another high pass and low pass, and then a little dip in the mids because my screams are rather boxy by themselves. So when you take out a little bit of mids, it gets rid of that boxiness. So I'll A-B that. Let's play something else.
When and fill me in. Do you think you can do it again? I'm not your sin. I was all that you wanted and more, but you didn't want me. I was more than you thought I could be, so I'm setting you free. I'm setting you free.
So you hear that? Just kind of just the slightest dip in the mids just makes my vocals sound, like I said, just less boxy to me. It's the best way I can describe it. And then de-esser again, just same stuff as the clean stuff, and then vocal gain reduction by Joey Sturgis Tones, man. A little bit of aggression added because this is scream stuff. And then, yeah, just a little bit of compression and volume reduction, man. That's it. And then lastly, guys, my master fader or master bus, whatever you want to call it. Just a high pass and low pass. 34 and 15K, man. That's it. Joe Wanasek BG mix. I'll play you the whole track here. The slightest gain reduction. Again, you shouldn't be doing, or at least I found this out, you shouldn't be doing drastic stuff once you get to this part of your song because like it's going to affect literally everything. You should already have everything pretty much good to go by the time you get to your stereo out or your master fader. So you shouldn't be trying to make any giant, changes to affect the entire track. And then, yeah, lastly, I'll just use, man, is the Fat Filter Pro limiter. A little bit of increase in gain and the output, just the threshold down to about 4 because that way you have a little bit of headroom to when you go and master it. And that's it, man. Guys, that's how I mix this song. That's how I pretty much mix all my songs. There's a little bit different stuff here and there, case by case. But basically, this is just the formula that I run with, man. It seems to work with, with what I do. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to my channel, you've watched it to this point in time, thank you again. If you could please hit that subscribe button, I'd really, really appreciate it. Guys, I'm out of here. Stay metal, and I'll see you guys next time.